Hi, friends. Hello. Hello. It's afternoon stream time. Why did no? Captions just said hello, killer, and I don't. That's incorrect. It did it bad. Whatever. I'm sorry you can't understand me, captions. But hey, how's it going? Afternoon streams are a thing now, I think officially. That's cool. Yeah, I think we're mostly just gonna do like point and clicks and stuff like that for afternoon streams. I'm thinking that maybe the afternoon would be really good for our Worst Man in Revachol run with whenever we play Disco Elysium again, because it's mellow. It's a good game to just kind of listen to. Why are you sad, Fruity? Stop! That's not nice. That's not nice. Oh, you're sad for Kim. Okay, I guess that's acceptable. Thought you were upset about me doing, like, Disco Elysium in the afternoon, and I was like, get the fuck out of here! No, that's fair. We can all be- but you know what? We can all be sad about Kim together! That's what makes it great, right? No, we're gonna be mean to Kim. I'm sorry. That's part of the whole Worst Man in Revachol thing. We gotta be mean to him. I'm sorry. Them's the rules. Gosh, I didn't think I was gonna get this much flack for it. Y'all. But no, we're gonna check out a game. What about Cryptid? I don't think we'll see Cryptid, because we'll be mean to the cryptozoologists, and we won't pursue that line, probably. I will just continue to ignore the phasmid, even when it shows itself, and we'll just be like, I see nothing. That's a valid point, Emmy. If we can figure out something that we have to do for penance, essentially, anytime we're mean to Kim, we'll do it. Also, Ella, hello, welcome. Hi, friends. There's already so many of you here. What the hell? Yeah, hey, so I got an Emmy here. She's chilling, hanging out. It's a good day. But I guess, like, let's just do this. Let's get in on this. Let's do the thing. Maybe, if I can see what's happening. No. Was that a cat I saw? No, that was just your arm. Okay. Never mind, don't mind me. It's fine. Do it. Rip it and rip it! I have to put a penny in the swear jar every time we're mean to Kim. I can do that. Do we wanna... You know what? That actually might be, like, kind of... I'll think on this. That could be a fun, like, charity event of sorts. Like, I have to do, like, 10 cents or something every time we're mean to Kim. And then whatever amount that I have at the very end, we, like, donate to... I don't know. Something. We can elaborate on this idea. We can think on this, because I kind of like it. Kind of like this idea. Anywho. Yeah. We could do, like bail funds or something like that, because fuck cops. Or mental health awareness. Yeah, I mean, we got plenty of options. Addiction services would be really, really cool. There's so many, like, good options for... based on Disco Elysium alone. Yeah, we can definitely, like, explore that as a possibility. I'm here for this. I figured as much. Again, just kind of based on Disco Elysium's premise. No, that's definitely something we can talk about. We could probably, like, set it up as a whole thing, get you guys to, like, donate to if you're interested in it. Hold on, this game is very loud. That's a little better. Yeah, we could try and find if people have suggestions for a donation or a place that takes donations, then we can, like, I can set up like a full thing for us so we can have a stream, a donation stream. That'd be cool. I like this idea. We'll elaborate on this. Let me write it down before I forget, because I fucking will. If I just put donation stream dash disco, maybe I'll remember what that means. This game is called Darkside Detective, which I haven't updated any of the information on. Fucking hell. I've been distracted today, it's fine. I blame Emmy. Boop. Cool, there we go. I don't know much about it other than it's a, yeah, this is Bloodborne 2. We, got it early release, it's all good, we're gonna go beat some monsters. Don't worry about it. No, it's Darkside Detective. I actually don't know a ton about it. It just looked precious and cute. And, yeah. What's our wonderful little description over here say? It's, grab your trench coat, tune your sixth sense, and join the Darkside Division as they investigate the outright bizarre, the downright dangerous, and the confusing cases of Twin Lakes. Flesh-hungry tentacles, mafia and zombies, and the occasional missing sock are no match for the Darkside Detective. Point-and-click, mystery, detective game. It's that good pixel art that gives you the Yuppie Psycho vibes. It's a good game. I need to go back and do all those endings. Maybe we'll do that during our afternoon streams too. That'd be a good time to do that. Yuppie Psycho's a great game. So yeah, I don't know a ton about it other than it's cute. We got 6 cases. Start out with, Alice in Wonderland, I suppose? Chief has sent me to the Joneses' residence. Dooley is there with further details. The music is cool. No, Yuppie Psycho is a really, really great horror game that is done in a pixel style where all the terror happens in an office. Your job is scary. Which, I mean, what office job isn't? But you get hired into a corporation to be a witch hunter. Is a good game. If you don't know what it is, then I definitely need to play it during an afternoon stream sometime to try and get a different ending. It's a good game. So yeah. Officer Dooley. Whoa! I almost shot you there, detective! You shouldn't be sneaking around like that. Classic cop, right? Dooley, you watched me drive up. I had my siren on. You waved at me as I pulled in. I guess this place has me spooked a little. So, what happened here? Chief Scully just called me and told me to get here ASAP. No details. 7-year-old kid Alice went missing a day ago. No sign of her leaving the house. Seems to be the kind of spooky crap. I mean, the kind of case you're into, detective. Great, let's get started. Our trusty squad car. I like how her name is Detective McQueen. I like to call it the Popo Moto. Oh, Channel Zero? Hell yeah. When do we want to do that? After you, detective. You know, whenever standing in this rain stops being fun for you. I mean, I'm free for Channel Zero whenever. I'm so glad you guys liked it. It was fun. It's a good show. Officer Dooley, why is there a hobo dripping all over my carpet? That's Detective Francis McQueen. Mr. Jones, he's here to investigate. I have not uploaded Yuppie Psycho to YouTube just yet, but it is on my list. I need to make a thumbnail for it first. It is a very good show. I'm telling you, we gotta watch the other seasons as well. is good. I don't recommend trash, and if I do, I tell you it's trash. And then we enjoy it for it being trash. You know, like Bad Ben. I think I've told you about Channel Zero before, but I don't know if you've watched it. It's good. It's good. You should definitely watch it with us sometime. Bad Ben was a masterpiece because of how terrible it was. We fucking love Bad Ben. Don't come at me like this, Fruity. Oh, Bad Ben. Lonnie, what are you doing? Like hopping around over there. Okay, baby. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna watch all the other Bad Bens at some point. Probably for like our horror fest stuff. We will give her all of the pets for you.
She's eating right now.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Maybe when she's done, we'll give her some pets. Maybe if she comes back this way to lay down, I'll snatch her up and show her off. Don't worry about it. Aw, thanks! Yeah, we're all red now, and I gave myself a haircut the other day because my ends were getting all gross, so it's short enough to do little buns again. And that's fun. We love that for us. Alright, what's happening? Jones is giving us some lip. I see. Twin Lakes finest, eh? Actually, yes. I mean, for now, as soon as it fades out, though, I'm gonna go back to purple, because I really liked the purple that I was doing for a bit there. It came out so nice. Also, yeah, Kimmerald is so good. Oh, dang, I forgot to update everything. Oh, I'm so bad at all of this today. Hang on, guys. Yeah, I needed red for the cosplay. I do like having my hair red, though. Like, it's a good color. That's not what I wanted. Hold on. It's gonna take us a little bit to, like, get used to everything for, afternoon streams. So, hang on a second while I try and update all of our commands. Alright. That's unfortunate. Appreciate you all being here, though, and hanging out. Taking it easy. Can we... It's early, you don't know what's going on, your typing's just doing whatever it wants. It's fine. It's fine. Do we have any... I love it when things don't give me a, content warnings, like, at all. It's my favorite. So I guess we'll... do that for now. Okay. I think we're good. I think we've done everything we need to do. Oh boy. No, please come back. Okay. Alright. Are we settled? Is everything fine now? Oof. I'm sorry you couldn't, like, schedule your vaccination at all. That's unfortunate, but I'm glad that you're addressing it in therapy. The needle phobia, that is. Oh, yeah, I totally missed your message, Jody. Absolutely. Yes. If I have to throw anyone in front of a bus, it'll be Officer Julie. Don't worry. What? Come here! Come here! Come say hi! Hi! Look who we got! It's a llama! You smell like cat food and I don't like it. Yeah! Hi, Precious Bean. Can you say hello to everyone? Look at them.
Oh.
Look. Are you a happy cat? I can't hold you all stream, but I'm sure Lamia would give, or Annie would give you loving Lamia. Excuse me. She is mad. Hey. You're okay. You act like I never love on you, and that's just absolute garbage. That's not true. The lies and slander. She's been such a grump, but so cuddly the last few days. I don't know what's up with her. She just wants affection. Always and forever. Is this acceptable? Well, if it's not, too bad. Was that her?
Yeah, Devo.
Go. No, go. Basically, I have to hold her and never stop. She's a turd. We love her. Alright, what's happening? Detective McQueen? I hope you don't smoke around your kids. Thankfully, Detective, I'm rarely around my kid. Woof. Oh, that's what I just looked at.
Yikes.
So how can I help you, Detective? Tell me about Alice. I'll level with you, Detective. I don't have many dealings with her. She has a limited conversation pool. Is she like 5? Because that would make sense. She's 7! Sir! Exactly. A tedious age. So I leave that to the nanny. She's around here somewhere. This guy, though. Why didn't you notice she was missing? I was out. How wonderfully shady. Have you got an alibi? Where I was is none of your business, Detective. My taxes pay your salary. Oh, we were talking about Dooley, not Jones, but Jones is also bad. Can we throw them both in front of a car? They also pay for the cell phone and questioning room I'm going to have Dooley here take you to. Fine, call this number. They'll vouch for me. Busty Bell's Booty Boutique. Classy stuff. Ah, bells. Fond memories. I mean, that's fine. I mean, where was he? A bell shop? What? Dooley, why? Whoa, these folks must be billionaires. Nice schooner. You dummy. It's not a schooner, it's a sailboat. Schooner is a sailboat, Dooley. Why is everyone so dumb? Hallway or upstairs? Let's go upstairs. Does Dooley have to follow me everywhere? What an odd place for a telephone. He must run out of places to draw. I mean, put it. Ah, great. Self-aware humor. Oh, so it's us following Dooley. I see. A place this fancy deserves something nicer than plastic flowers. Oh, I didn't want to actually come up to the attic, but okay. Paint thinner fell when the shelf gave way. Not much left in it now. Just a bunch of forgotten memories. If we leave Dooley alone, he's gonna, like, break something. May not be broken after all. Just a blown bulb. Those look heavy enough to knock somebody out cold. Box marked, Anne's broken dreams. Is Anne the mother? Because if so, oof. As addicts go, this one is extra creepy. Okay. I have played Franbo. It's a very, very good game. It's been a minute since I've played it, but it's a good one. She seems like a sweet kid. Don't worry, we'll find her, detective. Alice and her mom look quite happy here. What's in the drawers? Seems impolite to go rifling around in somebody's drawers uninvited. Dooley, we're investigating a kidnapping. I need to go through everything. It is super good. I would highly recommend. If you get a chance to play it, do it. It's a good one. Tell me about Anne. Or Alice. She's spoiled and sticks her nose where it doesn't belong. But that's what having super rich parents will do to you, I guess. What's an Annie doing in the master bedroom? Nothing suspicious, that's for sure. No siree. Why is everyone so weird? Jones is detective. Even though it ends with an S, you still pluralize it. It's not really the best time. It's always a good time for grammar. Anyway, answer the question. Long enough to harbor no ill will whatsoever. Ma'am? Alright, we're done here for now. I'll get back to work, and nothing else. A waterbed. Very fancy. Looks like something's been kicked under here. No, it doesn't! Got a strange page? What is this? It's a peculiar pattern from the Occult for Dummies book. So the nanny's doing weird stuff. Tell me where she is, bear. I'm only kidding, you don't know. You're only a bear. A stupid, know-nothing bear. Hello, can I ask? My baby! My baby is gone! Can you tell me about Alice? She just disappeared, my baby! Ma'am, I need you to, like, actually talk to us so we can find your baby, okay? Is there anything? You have to find her! Find her! Ma'am. I don't have much use for a dozen pink socks. She's sitting on a coffin. Oh, no, no! Oh, no. I gotta give it my all. This is what we do. Especially when people are being so dramatic. A drawing of our suspect. Really? I'll put out an APB. No, Dooley, don't do that. You gotta fart. I've never seen a horse with 5 legs before. Is this Mr. Bear Bear? Or Mrs. Bear Bear? I miss Bear Bear.
I do too.
Also, yeah, these characters are wild and I love it. Hey, I know that tree. It owes me $5. This is no time for art, detective. Blacklight. This looks useful. Can I... Label says, for use under blacklight. Okay, so I don't have a blacklight. I just have a marker I can use under blacklight, right? Right? Let's start in the study. Locked. I wonder where I'd find a key. This reminds me of my own grandfather. Your grandfather was a clock? What? No, he had a clock. Shame. I thought I'd finally found out something interesting about you. What? I'm interesting? Whatever you say, detective. Hi, tiny room. A blacklight bulb. May as well take it. Oh, dang. Now all we need is a disco ball, some white clothes, and fat beats. Then we've got ourselves a good night. Good night is finding this kid. I just know some cool games. I don't know. Steam has this tendency to like recommend some wild shit to me just based on the fact that I know about wild shit. It's great. Yeah, plus I follow a lot of like indie folks on or indie devs on Twitter and things like that. Would recommend. I can try and do better about sharing like the various stuff that I'm following in like the games tab of our Discord. Because there's a lot of really neat stuff like getting ready to come out that I'm super stoked about. Okay, how do I click and drag. Okay. Hope this doesn't reveal somebody's attic shame. Oh no! Don't say that. I have a very, very specifically curated Steam store. That's valid. Y'all should still check out about, like, go support a lot of these games. Like I said, I'll try and do better about, like, sharing some of the stuff that I follow, in the games tab. I mean, that's what it's there for, really. I'm just terrible about sharing. Aw, farts! Where'd he go? Oh. Our big sweet boy. What the hell? Well, that doesn't look ominous at all. Darkside doorway? Pattern on the wall looks washed out in places. I wonder what happened if I redrew. Oh! Oh, I see. Okay, I seem to have everything I need. Let's get down to some spooky hijinks and redraw those missing symbols. Oh, you want me to- oh, okay, no, you don't want me to draw them, you just want me to choose them. Okay, I was about to freak out and be like, no, no, no! That's not what I've agreed to. This one goes here. Devo! So whiny. Hi! Those ones, right? That should be it. Great. Maybe now's a good time to stop doing, well, anything, really. Even I'm not foolish enough to go in there with no light. Oh no, not on my watch. You mean you don't want to just light the... the paint thinner on fire? Can I just do that? That's a rookie mistake. Okay, never mind. What can I set on fire? To, I mean, we got matches, but he won't let me do the thing. You know what? We could set the house on fire. This is correct. So, how can I help you, Detective? Mr. Jones, I want access to your study. I'd love to help, Detective, but I seem to have misplaced the key. Sorry. Mr. Jones, there seems to be an evil doorway in your attic. Just as well you're here, then. Go arrest it. It's trespassing. I'm sorry? You heard me. Arrest it. I want to press full charges. I don't think you understand the situation we're in, sir. Taking up enough of your time. Goodness gracious, Farley. You're so big and so loud all the time. Can we go talk at the nanny? Say, you're the nanny. The very innocent nanny, yes. Do you have keys for the various rooms? I am a nanny, not a maid. Right, but do you? Yes. May I have the key to the study, then? Sure, there's nothing incriminating in there anyway. Why is everyone so suspicious? Also, go get water! Get hydrated! It's important. What can you tell me about the demonic doorway in the attic? Nothing, not a thing. It's nothing to do with me, that's for sure. I was here the whole time. I'll get back to work now and nothing else. What Everyone is so weird. And hey, presto, we're in. Statue was ugly enough to be worth a lot of cash. An old oil lantern. Seems to have some oil left too. Fantastic. Love that for us. Roy Jones, Esquire. Takes a certain type of person to have an oil painting of themselves. Nice collection of books. Thus suggests they've not been looked at in some time. For shame. Hey, I just realized that there's only 2 seats in this entire house. Don't be daft, Dooley. There are more. They're just off camera. His magazine collection. Jeez, this guy is obsessed with jugs. Farley, leave her be. Get it? Get it? Because they're jugs? Another lovely pair. Wow. Peak humor. Living room, upstairs, back to the attic. Should probably light this thing. You know, just in case. Let's go! Okay, Dooley, let's do this. No offense, detective, but I'm going nowhere near that creep fest. I'll, stand guard out here. Oh, hey, Alice! Box marked babies for first cult robes. Should talk to her first, but I'm gonna look at everything. Label says old milk circa 1880. Why would you store that? Don't look in there, mister. That's where the 3-eyed rats hide. Hello, mister. Hey, kiddo. Are you here to take me home? Yep. Good. I'm hungry, and the sounds from downstairs are scaring me. Yeah, let's get out of here. Not so fast, detective! Where's Dooley? That idiot. I knocked him out! I can't have you snooping around anymore, so I'm going to trap you here. At least take the girl. Oh, I intend to. I'm her legal guardian, after all. It's my job to look after her, especially if anything should happen to her parents. Say, for example, they're getting trapped in the Darkside's version of their bedroom. It's where they'd be now if Alice hadn't gotten into my stuff and stupidly trapped herself up here. Figured it'd be best to lay low until you had gone. I thought you'd have given up by now. What kind of cop would give up on a missing kid? Most of the TLPD. Sadly, fair. So what is this? An inheritance scheme? You have to admit, it's a fairly perfect crime. It is, actually. Even if you do get rid of me, then what? Alice knows what you're up to. She's a smart kid. If she's so smart, she'll know to keep her mouth shut. Alright, well, once Dooley wakes, you and your scheme will be done for. Good point. I'll just have to get you to drag him in here with you. Come on. Okay, drag your friend in here. And no funny business. It's paint thinner. It thins paint, not evil nannies. I'm scared, mister. I mean, we're here for it, right? It'll be okay, kiddo. This is why we play as a detective? I'm gonna pretend that we're like a PI or something. Oh, I know what we can do. Paint thinner on the demonic doorway. Have a taste of your own medicine. No! Goodbye, evil nanny. Devo, it's fine.
He's freaking out.
Hi, this is what I deal with all the time. All the time. So, the kid got into the nanny stuff and accidentally used it to trap herself in that creepy attic. I had to physically stop myself from saying tarp herself in there. Oh, my brain. The dark side. But that's a surprisingly succinct summary of things, yes. Shame the nanny was certifiable. She was a looker. I just saw pixels. It's a tarp. Dooley, she was dabbling in the dark arts with a plan to trap innocent people in a parallel world. Kidnap their kid and steal all their cash. I said it was a shame, jeez! Wonder where the nanny got the occult books from anyway. Stuff's hard to find these days. Case for another day, I guess. First of all, we have to figure out what kind of paperwork covers this mess. Case closed. Well done. This is cute. I like this. I like this game. There is a second one. I think it's called Fumble in the Dark. That I might have to pick up sometime soon. Also, I need my wrist brace. My wrist is angry. With all that video editing earlier. Alright, let's see. Tome alone. Julie suggested a visit to the library. He must have seen the strange storm gathering over it. Start the investigation. Oh, I'm doing it. I'm taking care of it. Don't worry. Hi. Seriously, the music in this game? Absolute bop. Okay, what's the case, Dooley? Fill me in. Case? No, I have some overdue books to drop back. So that purple swirling vortex thing above the building has nothing to do with why we're here. Ah, come on now, detective. You're hardly gonna arrest the weather. The things you'll try to do to justify this department. Oh, it's gonna be booby trapped, don't worry. Also, yeah, Dooley's a fucking idiot. He's kind of endeared himself to me with how dumb he is. I'd still push him in front of a bus, though, don't worry. Let's get this over with. How many cases do we need to solve, do you think, to get a car that doesn't leak in the rain? Keeps us fresh. Sharp, even. Sometimes you just gotta have an idiot with you to make things better. These statues make me uncomfortable. They're not very welcoming. They should at least be reading a book or wearing glasses or something. Before this was the library, it was where the mayor kept her lion collection. Oh, right! That clears that up, so... Alright, that's all the same. Let's go inside. Silence. Fines? For being late? How are books late? It's not like they have places to be. You're not charming anyone, charming your way out of this, Patrick. Rules are rules. His name is Patrick. Can't we come to some kind of arrangement? Do you have any parking tickets you want to see go bye-bye? Julie, are you trying to bribe your way out of a fine? No? Here's an arrangement for you. I'll drop your fines if you arrest that troublesome kid. Kid? The one who's responsible for the storm. And, you know, the ghosts. Ghosts? What? Of course, the librarian's, like, not fazed by any of it. Is this your to-read pile? Oh, I've read all those. The desk is missing a leg, so I'm using them to balance out the computer. Perfect. A silent Shh! From a certain angle, it looks like Julie has crazy hair. An old elevator. Where's the staircase? We have none. There was a fire, and ironically, the fire escape was the only thing that was destroyed. Can't go to horror! Button for the 4th floor is missing. Tetraphobia. Tetraphobia? Fear of the number 4. It's quite common for buildings in China to be missing the 4th floor. But the 4th floor is there, just the button is missing. Oh yeah. And we're not in China. You have all the answers, don't you? Dooley. What odd leaves that plant has. That? That's just the dead tree where Doris dries her stockings. Welcome back, Ella. Don't blink! Yeah, it's a Doctor Who reference, that's cute. Let's go to the children's section. Why is that book floating? Why did I think that was my cursor for a second? We solved the mystery of the missing child. It was the nanny, obviously, who did it. And we trapped her in the demonic door. And now we're at the library, returning books and solving ghost issues. What about this one? The words are short, and I think I can read the whole book from one cover to the other cover. Oh, is that suitable for my age range? I read a book about books for my age range, and they're all books about boys and wizards and talking dogs. Okay, I'll try it. I hope I like it, because I've read all the books about boys and wizards and talking dogs in here. There's that teddy bear again. You look familiar. Have I arrested you before? A, B, C, as easy as 4, 5, 6. There's a cold draft coming from the vent. That can't be good for this kid's health. I hope I get to have a pet robot someday. Too many responsibilities. Feeding it, rubbing its belly, teaching it to overthrow humanity. Why would you teach it that? I want to be on their good side when the inevitable happens. Why your parents don't love you. Oh, wow. Okay. Annenberry face financial ruin. Little and Big Pooh saved the day. Bad Baby incites a riot. Kindergarten Kate summons the devil. Grumpy Chris hates to play. What are these books? A Viewmaster? I loved these as a kid. I'll take this and see if I can find a use. It's time like these that I miss walking the beat. This is a pun-friendly zone, Dooley. Get out of here with your negativity. The dust is wrong under this. Makes me think it was moved recently. I've always loved trains and trams. Not monorails, though. Thinking they're better than everyone because they're up in the air. Is that... Oh, I guess I should look at the floating book. Well, that's not right. Neat trick! What magic book did you learn that from, kid? It's not magic, it's... nothing. Can I... Hold on. I want to leave. Thank you. Sci-fi and fantasy. This whole dang place is haunted. How convenient. I'd have expected to go through a series of semi-logical puzzles to get this. Got an old library card. Wanted to be an astronaut when I was younger, until I found out that they had to go into space. Looks like some of the rocket's aluminum is coming off. That could be useful. If we lived in medieval times, we'd be living the adventures of Ye Darkside Bailiff and his squire Dooley. Devo. What? Come here. No, don't show me your butt. Come here. Why are you useless? Come here. Yeah. Oof. Can you say hello? No, I need you to look at the camera. Oh, we kind of got it. Oh my gosh. You are a scamp. Can you lay down? Hey, lay down. Lay down. Thank you. What book is this? Fantastic Obit. Drowned in moonlight, strangled by her own bra. What? Dr. Whom's thrilling adventure through grammar and structure. I'm not gonna show you his butt. That's inappropriate. Space hike. Boldly going to places safely explored by others. How to woo a Wookiee. Nope, alright. If you're gonna be on the desk, you gotta get down. Right, Dr. Whom. Glum Tales of the Sad Venturer. That's me! That's my book. The Library of Books. Dragon Ageism. And, The Witcher. Tales of an Indecisive Adventurer. I like these jokes. What a great game, eh? Yeah, funny looking drought pieces though. Okay, that's everything in there. Reading room and hobby. Let's go to the reading room first. Oh, hello, miss. I wasn't expecting anyone to be here. Oh, hello. My name's Raxa. I'm here to study the strange goings-on. I guess that's why you're here too, detective. Oh, sure. That's me. Always investigating stuff. On purpose. Want to share what you found? Well, it's not much, but there seems to be a strange concentration of energy in the next room. I'm searching the internet for a way to be able to see whatever it actually is. Well, let me know if you find anything. They seem pretty cool. Time always seems to stand still in boring places like libraries. Don't let Allie hear you say that.
Wow.
Don't let Allie hear you say that. So rude. Who doesn't need chalk in the 21st century? Most people? Fair point. Okay, but can I take it? If no one else needs it, can I take it? It's radiating energy, like Raxa said. I think that may be a clue. Possibly. There's just too much here to take. Even my pockets have their limits. Let's see what we can find online. Good Jurassic Park reference. Looks like I need to figure out the password. This is microfilm reader. It's broken. If I want to look at any microfilm, I'll need to find another way to do so. Why would anyone have so many filings that they need a cabinet to store in them? Buddy. Who's this? Professor Theodore Library, inventor of the library. Nope, not one word of that is true. Hobby books. Turning duct tape into pants. Make your nether sustainable. Things you can fill jam jars with. Volume 3. Whittling dice out of larger dice. Detective, the inspectioning, investigative role-playing in the world of Darkside. They're very good titles. How to do DIY yourself. I'm really good at DIY. I get my sister to do it for me. This one's called Building Mediocre Mysteries by the Spooky Doorway team. Whoever they are. It is. We're just gonna read titles. Also, that's cute because Spooky Doorway is the dev team that made this game. Precious. DIY, because you're too broke to pay someone else to do it. Oof! Sorry, that hit a little close to home. So your government is broken by C. Guevara. It looks like he's jumping. You'd jump too if somebody shoved a pole up your behind. Somebody seems to have left some glue here. It's no duct tape, but it could be useful. Pots and brushes. Why are these fake? Well, you can't have kids painting over the books. Wait a minute. These are printouts of children's art. Look at Mr. Moneybags in his deep pockets. Rich enough that he can pay child artists for original works. This guy. Jeez. Does that imply that Dooley pays children for their art? Is he vaguely ethical? Nope, vaguely. Vaguely ethical. What were you saying about ghosts? Place is haunted. You know, the usual stuff. The usual. Flickering lights, floating books, strange noises, eerie purple storms. It's chasing off the readers. And you say a kid is to blame? He's the only one here often enough. Suspiciously often, if you ask me. I'll look into it. Do. Or else I'll call a pair of oddball priests and or a questionable ghost-busting startup to come fix this. This game was made by nerds, and I love it. What are you reading? Skylight, the heartbreaking tale of a girl who falls in love with a reverse vampire. So a bat that turns into people? Would that be a reverse vampire? Or would it just be a dude? Is it just a frat boy? Is that what we're describing? Of a what now? Oh, okay, hold on. A reverse vampire. He can only come out during the day. I'm at the part where it's her prom night and he promised to take her, but the clocks went forward and now it's on at nights. A person who bites bats and turns them into people. The worst. Either that or some guy that instead of drinking blood, they have uncontrollable blood. I hate all of these. I don't want to think about reverse vampires anymore. I don't like it. They're very good takes, though. Oh my god. What happens if he goes out at night? He gets really sleepy. Sounds interesting? What? It sounds awful, detective. I like how she's essentially just described like an old man. He can only go out during the day and he gets sleepy at night. That's it. That's what we got. Yep, I hope you don't want to read any horror books. Well, I would like to be able to go there. Oh, well then. Sorry, I guess. Can I have the internet password, please? And give you access to all my juicy manuscripts? No chance. Is she a fanfic writer? Doris, I need that password for my investigation. And I need those books kept safe until my genius is recognized. So no. If you need anything else, I'll be here. Unless I'm not. I won't hand this in just yet. I mean, you know, okay, never mind. Do we... Old film viewing toy. Oh, I could probably use that on the microfilm, right? Library card of one smug-faced Paul Conway. 10 sheets of foil. Tube of hobby glue. I wonder if I can use the glue and the foil to make a new button. I'd rather try something else first. Let's call that plan B. Okay, never mind. Let's go see if I can use the viewfinder on the microfilm. Film is too big. It's a square peg, round hole situation. You got anything? So ghost hunting detective? It's bad. It's a bad comment. That's classified. Because there is a whole bunch of eerie mumbo-jumbo going on here. So you noticed then? I'm majoring in the occult at TLU. You can do that? I thought all that stuff was banned. Somebody has to catalog and ban it all, detective. Right. It's all fairly hush-hush. So what does one study with occultism? Whatever you want. I went with computer science, so I wouldn't be studying too impractical subjects. Good call, Raxa. From experience, I can tell you that the occult doesn't pay much. Raxa's books. I hope there's nothing contraband in this pile. I wish. You know what I mean. Can I take it? No. You won't let me have the books. Can I go talk to the kid again? I don't know what to do. That first one was so easy, so straightforward, and now I'm like... What? Oh, can I... Come on, Frankie. Oh. Can I glue it? Who are you talking to, kid? I'm not telling you anything. I've heard what happens to people who do a snitch. Modern media really is making our job hard. I think you guys are doing that for yourself. Mrs. Bear Bear is here. Well, that's not right. Neat trick. I bet it's gonna show up in every possible situation that we're in.
I mean, there's a book floating next to it.
Right, though? Come on. Dust is wrong under here. It makes me think it was moved recently. God, that's just our pause menu. Alright, good to know. Back to the hallway? No, won't let us pick it up. Unfortunately. Is there anywhere else I can go down here? Oh, the office! Give me those scissors, please. Never know when I'll need to cut something in half, or a lazy approximation of half. So I can cut the microfilm now. Okay. I got this for Doris last time I had to get out of paying fees. I'm gonna have to up the ante this time. Skylight! She put her face on the main character's head. Oh no. 100% she absolutely writes Skylight fanfiction. That's what's hiding in the room that she's locked. Even the lamp is flickering. The computer seems to be broken. It's not broken, it's hollow, so they can store more books inside it. She's a good librarian, we like her. An old photocopier. Can't imagine this gets much use. Oh, it does! When you renew your card each year, Doris takes a photocopy of your butt for the records. Everyone's butt? Just mine, now that I think of it. That's the price of working out, I guess. So Dooley's got cakes. Roses are red, violets are blue. Your loaning rights are revoked due to books overdue. Looks like some of these coats have been here for years. We should go through their pockets. You know, for evidence. I got a button! Perfect. Everything is resolved now. The skills to wire up a normal button, never mind this one. We should make the button conductive. This should work, but I need to find somebody with the skills to wire it up. Dooley? Hey, Dooley. Do you have some, like, weird... I'd rather try something else first. Okay. Oh, Raxa probably can do it for us. Now that I think about it. Which is great, because we need to go to the 3rd floor anyway for the microfilm. Let's do it. Oh. Well, I've destroyed some historical material. Let's hope there was a point to this. There absolutely was not. Well, it fits. Looks like what I didn't, let's look at what I didn't accidentally chop out of the Twin Lakes recent history. Spider moths do it again. Do it again sounds like they were on some kind of winning streak instead of having burnt down yet another stadium. Major staff cuts at City Library. Budgetary cutbacks have seen the local library reduced to a skeleton staff. This is my shocked face. I know Doris is old, but that seems a bit unfair. It means very few people work here. Oh, yep, just Doris now, and she's actually a retired volunteer. Tough times. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. Really? Really? Fucking really? Cute. I shouldn't have read that aloud. I think I may have just summoned something. Crackpot detective claims teenagers' tags were ritual meant to show the dead that walk among us. That's me! I remember this case. What the? Hello? Who are you and how did you get here? I don't know what you're talking about. Why is my text freaking out? Do y'all see that? Never mind, it's not doing it anymore. I am that witch can- Oh, it's Aleister Crowley! Yeah, okay. I am that which can never be unseen, the ooze from your nightmares, the knower of the unknown. Right, that's not very helpful if I'm honest. Help is there for those that know how to take it. Okay then, I'll bite. Tell me, oh knower of the unknown, what's going on here? I, don't rightly know! Right. But I do know that the coward Yeats is protecting the hidden room, one that holds vast power and treasure. No doubt that witch is responsible for the spectral summoning of myself and the others lies within. The others? The others! Detective? Who are you talking to? You're talking to... You know what? I don't even know how to explain this. It could have been Yates, but I like Yeats better. What was all that again? Yeats, secret room, mad power within! We cool, bro? We're cool. Alright, let's... Oh wait, I can use the computer. See what we can find online. Oh, hold on. Is that it? Nope. Nope. Konami code didn't work there. Yeets! Pray, sir, a moment of your time? Another one? Another? Ah, another spirit. Yes. Then with your question, you have answered my own! Huh? Forgive me, but I wish to know if you have seen on your travels that scoundrel Crowley. Forcefully mysterious man in a silly hat. The very same! I knew he lurked here, but somewhere. He mentioned a hidden room? Yes, but on the matter I shall say no more, not until the beast is gone. But I just wanted... Not a word more, sir! Not a word more. These freaking ghosts! Are you an author too? I don't recognize you. Hey, but not like you, but not like yon toffs with their literary fiction. I wrote useful stuff, like house wiring and how do own plumbing. Think you could fix the elevator? With right gear I could, I'd need a new button, mind. I got a button. I don't know what accent she's supposed to have, so you're just gonna get my weird broken English. Could this button replace the broken one in the elevator? Let me see. Looks like it'll do job. Gives a few minutes to pop it in place. Alright, bye. Has it been a few minutes? I guess so. Thanks for fixing the elevator, Gale. Happy to help. It were fun doing something useful, gang. Bye, ma'am. Let's go to the horror. Oh look! Doris must have finally fixed the elevator button. No, it was... Never mind. Collection of books that don't seem to fit anywhere else in the library, like How to Cook a Dinosaur, if you ever catch one. The Internet and Other Fads, Architecture of the Mind by Sarah Bellum, and MMO Accountancy, Be the Fictional Banker You Always Knew You Were. It's true horror, honestly. Collection of books that don't seem to fit. Oh wait, no, I just looked at that. Never mind. We can't go that direction, so we'll go this way. Is that Edgar Allan Poe? Is that Poe? It is Poe. I guess it helps if I read. And fucking Lovecraft! You barely make teenage girls whimper, Howie. Only because they cannot fathom the dread I conjure, Eddie. You play on common cliches. Your penny dreadfuls lack true horror. At best, spooky pulp. Your best works aren't even written by you! Charlatan! Fraud! Undead trickster! If you feel that way, then why did you hide my work, Eddie? Again, I say I do not have your book. Probably hid it because it was too scary for you. You're an infuriating man. Haunted place. Let's do the A through B's. From axes to zero oxygen, a murderer's primer. The dead person murders. Everyone's guilty. It kills! Lemons for every meal. Murder! The pain giver. The quirky killings. Stab Fest 6. I want to go to Stab Fest. The Underwhelmer. They yearn for blood. Creepy bookshelf. This is one creepy looking bookshelf. I like it. I want it. I don't have anything else to say? What's going on here? I didn't take his blasted book. It was that childish Blighton woman. Why don't you tell him that? He will not listen to me. He's convinced I hid it so more people would borrow my books over his. Nonsense. I care not for his current zeitgeist. My works are vastly superior. He's being such a child. I'm clearly the greater horror writer. Tore apart the minds of a generation with my atheistic horror. With your atheistic rubbish. Right, I'll have you, mate. Come at me, you sickly twerp. You two stop it, or I'll put you both in some kind of supernatural slammer. You started it. Oh, why never? It was you and your... I don't care who started it. I'm putting a stop to it. Wait right here. Devo. And Farley!
You just passed out.
He barely fits in there. Oh goodness. And not a peep. Okay, so we gotta... Okay, do it. Go. Do you need me to... Oh god, where is my... Boop. Boop. Okay, so we need to find Lovecraft's book. We need to find the secret room. And we need to... Who are these people? Is that Terry Pratchett? Oh hey, big fan of your work. Thanks! Not you. Ow. Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett, yes please. I read your detective books. Wonderfully over the top. Of course I can't interact with them. That's a shame. I think you should read this one. I read this one and thought it was good. What's it about? It's a story about this kid who can see dead people. Oh, that's not for me. I'm scared of ghosts. Excuse me, did you steal Lovecraft's book? He and that Poe fellow won't stop fighting over which one has the more frightful book. I took his book in the hopes it would stop their arguing. It seems to have just made it worse. Well, I shan't give it back until they stop their silly bickering. I just shan't. How am I meant to stop those two fighting? That is not my concern. You want this book, you stop their fight. There's gotta be a scarier book than theirs around here. Surely that would stop their bickering. A scarier book. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Learn to count to 107, the largest number known to science. Guide to baby safe shots. Daddy's little disappointment. Oh god. Oh, they're all, okay. Can you see the ghosts too, kiddo? Ghosts? What nonsense are you filling his head with, detective? I see them. They're my friends. Well, this one is. Some of them are less friendly. But I like them because before they came, the place was empty. Just me and Doris, and she's only interested in reading the mostest, dreadfulest books ever written. Oh, good to know. Oh. Also, I should probably take a break, too. Bathroom break! I'll get up, stretch, grab a snack, get some water. Do a thing. It's gonna be fine. And we're back. Fantastic. Okay, so Kiddo told us that Doris likes the scariest books. So we gotta get Poe and Lovecraft that dumb vampire book, right? You need a library card to borrow books. Can I sign up for one? No, I'm too busy reading my book to help. Saws. I don't want to get better at the Minesweeper game. Sorry, bud. Julie, can I use yours? It still has fines on it. I bet you wish you'd let me make a deal now, huh? It's fine. I got an old library card. I'd like to borrow that book you're reading. You need a library card to borrow books. Like this one? Like this one, yes. Oh, good. But not this one. It's not yours. That's not even your face on it. So how do I take my picture and then glue it onto this card? Computer's hollow. I can photocopy my face. I really don't want to put my face on here, but I really need a picture of myself. Things I do for this job. Rather try something else. Oh, make it sticky first. Feeling back in kindergarten art class. We got a sticky photo. This is gonna be the least convincing fake ID I've seen in all my years as a cop. It's so sticky! Don't question it. I'd like to borrow that book you're reading. You need a library card to borrow books. This has to be a reference to something. What is this? Are you dying? It gives you hairy taunting, which turns into a fake mustache. Alright. There's no mustache on the ID, so you have to find a marker and draw it on? I have a fake mustache now. No one knows it's me! Now it's gone forever. I could also just pick up Devo and put him on my face. Who was that? It's a really old point and click. You need to figure out which point and click game that is because I need to play it now. Please and thank you. Oh, well then, here you go, Paul. Paul? My name is Paul, like it says on the card. My card. Paul. It's on my list. That's one that we can do during afternoon streams. And scratches. Got a trashy novel. I'm sorry, that's a banana? Oh, damn, it's a Gabriel Knight game? Okay. Alright. Everyone needs to know about Barrow Hill. Cat hair mustache puzzle to Google. Beautiful. I have never played a Gabriel Knight game in my life, but I have heard. I've heard things. Some wild stuff. Alright, let's give this trashy book to Lovecraft. Is this my book? No, it is not. What is it? The most horrific novel ever written. And it's not written by either of you. Let me see that. Teenage girl, blah blah blah, reverse vampire, blah blah blah, love story. Sounds terrifying. Its mere existence gives me shivers. Do you agree it's more horrific than your works? Please stop squabbling. Agreed? Agreed. Can you believe something so hideous exists? Can you believe it's so popular? Stoker must be turning in his grave. I hope the poor chap doesn't know. Well, they're gone, but now what? I guess I could tie up some of the other ghosts' loose ends. We can get that book from Enid now. Devo. Scream! Ow! I've gotten them to agree on the scariest book. Can I have that novel now? Good. I daren't see why you'd want this vile thing, but I did promise. Here. Aw, you ruined the kid's illusion, detective. It's fine. Honestly. Do I need to put that away? Does that need to go away? In the L section? Is it gonna open the bookcase? But gut's telling me that I shouldn't put this book back yet. I'll hold on to it until I know more about that hidden area Yeats and Crowley mentioned. Beautiful. Yeah, no, we'll definitely check that out at some point, because, like, I want to suffer. Why wouldn't I, you know? Again I say that you and I, sir, shall not converse while Crowley lurks awaiting a slip of my tongue. Met your friend Yates. He says you won't stop spying on him. I'd find it most joyous to torment the man. Says you went into that room you mentioned? I do. I'm most bored here. I need something to do. Something to read. Why not use that computer to go online? 2 words. Safe search. Oh, right. Maybe I can find some kind of workaround? Please. Just stay here and don't do anything. I want to be able to enter the password, though. Like, I'm pretty sure I know it. Is that not it? I need to figure out the password. Is it not? This box of microphone has gotten into enough trouble for one day. Can I ask for the password now? Give you access to all my juicy manuscripts? No chance. I need that password for my investigation. I need those books until... Oh! No, never mind. What a lump. Oh, Devo. Raxa, you mentioned you were looking for stuff on the internet. How did you get past the internet blocks? Up to something naughty, detective? Me? No, but I have this friend who needs to get past the library firewall. It's quite well protected, surprisingly. I think Doris was worried somebody would hack in to steal her unpublished fan fiction. Did I not call it? But I figured out the admin password so I can bypass the block. Want me to give it to you so you can use it too? Please. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you serious?
Oh no.
Here I was being like, oh, it's definitely like the Konami code. No, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna try something else for. Wait, what do you mean? Password for Doris's internet block. Do I do this then? Right. It's a very secure password. No one would guess it. Now, Crowley should be able to browse to his heart's content. I'll let him know. Oh, it won't let me look at it. Okay, I've set it up so you should be able to browse whatever you want. No restrictions. Excellent. You, may not want to stick around for this. Right. I'll leave you to your business. Shut the door on your way out. Big ol' yikes. Did I sense? Yes, the beast's eyes are focused elsewhere. The air is clearer now. Well, clearer is maybe not the term I'd use. Come again, sir? Never mind. Just don't go into that room if you can avoid it. As you suggest. Now, what's all this about a hidden room? I'll share what I can. There's a place hidden behind the horror section on the 4th floor. The source of the phantasmic pollution inflicting this building is within. How do I get in? One of the books in the L section is a lever. Pull it and fix this. Godspeed, man. Hear that, Dooley? Hear what? Oh yes, of course. We need to get to the 4th floor and open the secret room using one of the books in the L section. Wait, how do you know all this? Intuition? Pull the lever, Kronk. Pull the lever, Dooley! Wrong lever! Here goes nothing. Seemed to fit with a curious clicking noise. Right, we pulled this and... Well, there's the hidden door Yeats and Crowley were talking about. Creepy doorways are a recurring motif I'm not too fond of. Let me guess. Staying here to cover me again? You got it in one, detective! Try to avoid getting knocked out this time. Spooky doorway. What is all this? Magica, Aleister Crowley's Guide to the Popular Wizard Game. The Gnostic's Guide to Ghouls and Ghosts. Rituals for Modern... Rituals? These are all contraband occult books. I demand that everyone call me a witchual now. Fight Like a Dairy Farmer. Hello, welcome. It's a lovely game. I'm very much enjoying it. And pixel art just Makes me very happy. But hello, welcome. Hope you enjoyed. This is quite the nasty treasure trove. Why didn't I know about this stuff? Who's you? Mary Shelley! So what are you doing here? Like the moth to a flame, I'm drawn to the eldritch energies emitted from this book. I like spooky books and electricity. I even like candles to up the spook factor. I love her. Normal library fare, this. Hell yeah. The periodic table of secret magic elements. Give me that baseball cap. What a strange thing to find here. Crawl space. Small hole. I don't fit, but maybe I can drop something down to see where it lands? Those loose wires seem to run to the roof. Exposed wiring. Okay. What do the books say? The Necronomicon, a Cyclopean cookbook. 101 ways to get ritual stains out of your carpets. A brief history of time magic. The art of pentagram drawing. Beautiful. I hope this works. Good sounds. Now to find where that landed. Hopefully without having caused any damage. It's gonna be in the children's section, isn't it? Oops, wrong way. Dooley. Oh, now he's coming with us. I feel like you should probably, like, stay there. Guard the secret door. What's all this noise? I can't hear myself read. So, kid, what do you know about the other side of that vent? I didn't mean to. Do what? I was lonely, so I went exploring. Found all these neat new books. But the one I read was scary and I ran off. Then the ghost arrived. But I liked them, because now I have friends. See, he meant no harm. Troublemaker! Arrest him! Breaking and entering! Into your room of illegal books. Let's say both set of charges cancel each other out. Only if you get rid of the ghosts and find him somewhere else to go once in a while. He can join me in the Blood Wolves. Blood Wolves? The mayor stopped paying the dib tax, so we had to change from scouts. You okay with that, kid? Sure. That's great, but back to the task at hand. We need to stop energy flowing into the building and into that book. You'll need to get to the lightning conductor on the roof. Here, have the key. Right, I did see that the music was by the same guy that did music for, I think it was FTL. What else did he do? Hold on a second. They have a list of stuff. Yeah, Breach, Subnautica, and FTL, to which I'm just like, perfect. It's good. It's a very good game. I am loving it so far. And the puzzles are nice because they're like simple, but like you still kind of have to like think things through. It's very good for like a chill afternoon. I'm here for it. Oh, we got a key. Dooley, we're going to the roof. But it's raining outside. Can I take the skull? In hindsight, that was dangerous. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. You blighter! That could have killed me! Except that you're already dead. Police brutality, that's what this is! This wasn't here before. Oh. I want to look at the teddy bear, though! Dang. Okay, so we can go to the roof now? Horror? Right, it's not, I mean, like, I really like a lot of the like, detailed pixel art that we're getting, but the fact that we've gone, like, super old school with it, but it's still very polished and, like, new, it's lovely. I'm a fan. They've won me over. Right? I mean, I just have, like, big respect for, pixel artists in general. That shit's rough. How do we... I got the roof key, right? Really hoped it wouldn't come to this. Oh. Here we go. I suppose I've already ducked out on one room this case. I knew I played that card too soon. You did, buddy. You did. Alright, so we got the wiring. Do you need me to go all the way up there? Scared of heights? No. Yes. The energy seems to be coming from here, but it's too powerful to go near. This is one heck of a light show. Oh no, wires! Oh no, wires! So what do I need to do? Get down as soon as possible? You only wish it were bees. It's my second worst enemy. Electricity. No, this puzzle is significantly better than the one from the mansion. It's fine. It's fine. Bees? Electric bees! Oh, Lord! Looks like the circuit is connecting the book downstairs to this aerial. I guess I should break that circuit, then wire the aerial to the lightning rod so the power has somewhere to go. Ghost wolf bees, no! No thank you. I need this to be like this. I've done this bad. I've done this bad too. There we go. We've done a couple of other point and clicks, but not at this time frame. I'm trying to think of what other ones we've done. Last week we did Bold Boy. We've also done, hold on, let me pull up my list of previous games. Yeah, we're planning on doing a bunch. So I usually stream in the evenings for myself. I'm in the Central Time Zone. And we do a lot of horror and mystery games as a whole. I'm trying to implement some more afternoon streams, and I think we're predominantly going to be doing point and click games. I've got a lot planned to do in the future. Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's fun. I really like point and clicks. Welcome to some of the first point and click games that we've done recently. We just recently played Dropsy. That one was really, really cute. Definitely less horror and mystery than I usually do, but it was just precious. We all loved Dropsy. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna be doing a lot of point and click games, be them pixel or not, during the afternoons. That doesn't happen often, does it, Ella? You're not usually here for the beginning of a game. It's very nice to have you here. But yes, our mod Emmy, our Mayor Emmy mod, is linking all of my stuff. I do post a vague schedule on Twitter. I usually have my going live tweets there. We do also have a lot of fun in our Discord. We have horror movie nights every so often. We also hang out and play games together pretty regularly, and generally just chat a lot. If you want to join that. And then we also have our YouTube there, which I archive all of my old streams. Working on getting the backlog up for that. And then occasionally post, or once a month I post a highlight video as well. But all of the old streams are there. Some of them are point and clicks, others are just, scary games. A lot of fun. So if you want to check those out, you can. But yeah, I at the very least keep my schedule on Twitch, Twitch proper, pretty updated and regular. So always good to check that out to see what games are coming up. But yeah, thank you for the follow, friend. I super duper appreciate it. Spooky cute. I mean, death. That's our aesthetic. That's what we aim for. But yeah, we're happy to have you. Glad that you're joining us on our fun little journey here. Yeah. Ouch, my hands. Look, detective, the storm is dying out. Imagine that. Okay, we should be able to close the book now. Oh, I also gotta, and I'm gonna run it by the evening crew as well, but we gotta figure out what our next, community challenge is, since we just did our cosplay stream. Like, what do we want now? What do we want to aim for? Oh, right, we gotta go close the book. I don't need to leave just yet. It's a good theme, that's for sure. Book is closed! Goodbye, ghosts. Trunks filled, detective. Though I don't see why we had to take all those books. Dooley, they're contraband. Do we want it to be the Waluigi cosplay? Is this what we want? I mean, even if we don't fund it, it'll happen at some point. We'll make it happen. Is that what we want to fund towards, though? Kayshurrr? Yeah. But yeah. You should be. You should be scared. It's gonna be scary. Emmy over here just encouraging it all. Very good. So yeah, I mean, that could definitely be our next community challenge. Well, I'll see what everyone else says this evening as well, and if everyone's in agreement that we want the Waluigi cosplay to be the next community challenge, we can do that. Sound good? We all happy with that? Do I have a favorite cosplay I've ever done? Oh, that's a hard question. Probably. It would- oh my gosh, okay. There's absolutely gonna be an overwhelming call for Waluigi, it's true. My favorite cosplay I ever did would probably be- it's a tie between Advocat from Grim Grimoire or Halibel from Bleach. Those were both really fun to make and wear and show off. I really liked both of them. God, that's a hard question, though. Because part of it's also just, like, remembering every other cosplay that I've done. Yeah, those are probably it. Aww, thank you, Ella. Right, there've been so many and, like, very few pictures to show any of them off, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I only have, like, a handful of pictures of any of the cosplays that I did. But that's fine. We can do more now. We can make more cosplays and take more pictures. To be fair, though, the Mary one that we just did this last Friday was, like, super fun, too. Like, I enjoyed that way more than I thought I was going to. So that's a close second, I would say. Yeah. Heavy contraband. Oh, books. If I can figure out how to do the horns more regularly, or like a little more easily, I might just be doing those on the reg, because that was super fun and like didn't make my head hurt. Which was great. I love that about hairstyles. When my head doesn't hurt from wearing them for too long. We've an agreement then, Doris. You don't fine me for having the books, I don't sue the kid for entering the vault, I go back to business, sans haunting. You should also get that wiring fixed. Ugh, fine. Come on, Dooley, let's get back to the office. See you can't, Mr. Dooley. See you there, Devin. Case closed. Well, dang. On to the third one. Disorient Express. Hey. Do we... Alright, so I have it scheduled... I have streams scheduled for like 2.5 hours, but I don't know if I want to do evening or afternoon streams for 2 or 3 hours. I think we'll probably call it here for today, though. We streamed for just under 2 hours. Yeah. But I think we'll, like, usually shoot for about, like, the 2.5, 3 hour mark for afternoon streams. I just got other stuff I want to do, so, you know. But this is fun. This went very, very well. I'm very happy with this. And I think I really like the 12 o'clock starting time for me. So if that works for y'all, we'll do this. We'll be back this evening at 6 p.m. Central with Control. We're gonna start Control this evening, and I'm stoked about that. And then we'll come back with more Darkside Detective on Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, 2 streams in a day! I am liking the fact that it's, like, breaking my day up and I have, like, times that I have to have things finished by. That's helping me a lot with my day-to-day scheduling. So y'all get me twice a day, 2 times a week. Hope you're ready. Gonna be an overload of Kayshurrr time. It's gonna be great. But yeah, let's go ahead and set up a raid, I suppose. Go see who's on. Arcade Kitten's on! Alright, it's decided. We're gonna go hang out with Arcade while they do art. It's decided. I'm not even gonna, like, let you guys possibly choose. We're just gonna go hang out with Arcade, and it's gonna be perfect. So yeah, like I said, I'll be back tonight at 6 p.m. Central for Control, and then we'll pick up more Darkside Detective on Wednesday at 12. Here are our raid messages. If you're not a sub, you can copy-paste that one, but if you are a sub, you can use our lovely little emotes for that second one. I mean, you can vote for Arcade. Oh, look at that, your vote went through! Aw, dang, you did so good! But let's go hang out with Arcade while they do some good art. And we'll see you guys next time. I love you, take care. We'll see y'all later.